Good afternoon and welcome to this webcast. I know it is a Friday afternoon, that too during an extended weekend. So, thanks for joining. We have this webcast with two veterans in utility, and I will introduce them in a short while. But before that, maybe first let me explain the format of this session. So, this is a 30-minute webcast where we have two industry experts from utilities. Uh, I have prepared some questions on the topic. I will introduce the topic also. And initially, I will go through their introduction and followed by some questions. Meanwhile, if you have some questions, please put it in the chat. I can see that, and if time permits, maybe I will go through that also. So that's now coming to the topic, and let me set the context first. As all of you know, this energy segment for last one decade is going through energy transition, and a lot of changes. There are a lot of target related to net zero, and which are getting redefined again and again. So to do that, a lot of changes are happening in this industry, and the new business models are getting evolved. The entire value chain is getting redefined, and this is definitely a big challenge, but also an opportunity to do the business in a slightly better way or innovative way. So that's where a lot of companies are taking this opportunity in redefining their business and innovating. And there are a lot of new technology. I mean, cloud compute, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and a lot of new things which are being now embedded into this new value chain. So if you see all these components, we do talk a lot about these. But one major ingredient for all this thing is these are all very, very data hungry applications or technology. And that's where our topic of today is related to data and data quality. And maybe at this stage now, I would like to introduce both the panelists. We have Arijit, who I think in the industry everyone knows him and knows him for good thing. Is one of the most sharp and brilliant CIO in India in any utility, and I have been fortunate interacting with Arijit for quite some time, and every time I meet him, I go back more wiser. So yeah, thanks Arijit for joining. And
Thanks, Yogesh, for having me and a very kind introduction as
thank
well.
you. And we have Anupam. Anupam is from SAP, and he is the key architect or advisor for all the utility customers in India. If you are working in a utility or doing any project in utility in India, there is a good chance you have already talked to Anupam. So that's the kind of coverage he has. I missed introducing Arijit more from he was the CIO of Noida Power for quite some time, and now he's doing a very challenging project at CESC. I think we'll talk about that once we start the discussion. So, with that, maybe Arijit, I will start off with you. And see, you have done a lot of project related to IT automation, business automation in last 2 3 decades, and you have a lot of learning. So, if we talk about the data or the master data to be very specific, I mean, any specific experience because if you have to solve the problem first, you have to agree that there is a problem. So, do you want to share any experience related to this and maybe how you handled that?
Sure, Yogesh. Yes, so there have been a number of experiences, number of projects, and especially for large-scale projects, data migration and management of the data migration process itself becomes an extremely important part or facet of the project. And not only that, I mean, data quite often actually has such an importance that it may actually derail a project as well, and that is why it is very important to get it right. I have had the opportunity of working on these aspects both from the client side as well as from the implementer side, and I have seen that this is one of the very important aspects of the project. Involves a significant amount of effort, and also we need to work out right from the very beginning what are the expectations regarding management of data. So quite often the data owners are the ones who are basically owning the business processes, and they are in the best place to advise as to what is the correct data. But when we migrate data, we actually migrate from a different information system. So there is always a technical aspect as well in terms of understanding which data goes where, which is the format that we have to adhere to, how to sort of do the data transformation that is necessary, and also, and this is very important, how to do the data cleansing. And that data cleansing can only be done from the perspective of not only what is required in the target application, but also making sense of the data that we are working with. And obviously, I mean, if the scale of the project is a bigger one, then obviously the scale of the task is also a bigger task, and involves a lot of effort in terms of making sure that the right data goes into the target system. From the implementer's perspective, very often what is said is that garbage in and garbage out, but nobody actually wants that it is the garbage that comes out of the system, because that can very well derail the project altogether. And hence a significant amount of effort goes in making sure that we are ready with the right quality of data. And I have seen, I mean, a number of instances where immediately after going live, the project has kind of got bogged down because the data was actually proving to be a big challenge. And rectifying that is never an easy process. It becomes quite messy. So yes, I mean, it is something that we have to start paying attention when we are preparing for the project, much ahead of actually the project kickoff.
Yeah. No, very well said. And I'm just sharing my experience because nowadays I'm getting more opportunity to handle the data part. So, see, we never have a concept of quality score for the data because we do a lot of pre-go live things and all. And our checks related to master data is maybe number of records and few other things. Maybe transactional data, we do the trial balance and other things. But I think now there is a concept of quality score for each master, and which is different for different organizations. But I think that's the kind of awareness and readiness will bring more quality of the data, where you know what you are uploading is of what level, and then you can keep on improving and then finally push to the system. So yeah, that's yeah. Thanks, Arjit. So Anupam, you normally engage a bit earlier with most of the customer. By the time the project is started, then like Arijit was talking about. But during that time, what I have seen is it's more the application which is in focus. Do you see any change, or I mean, what is your view uh, when you approach any customer? They want a lot of things, but they do assess whether where they stand on data, or they assume the application will take care of it.
First of all, thank you, Yogesh, and it's an honor to be part of this webinar or a discussion. As Arjit has set up that Now everybody is thinking data, because if I talk about the existing customers, and I'll be talking more from the India perspective, the customers are at different maturity levels, okay, because each and every customers has actually carried on or onboarded their, I would say, uh, a typical IT project journey, and that too on the ERP implementation at a different point of time. Yeah, and every customer is not so, I would say, knowledgeable, or they don't understand the importance. Okay, because uh, for them, the today somehow they are managing with some application, okay, either manual or some custom made. Okay, so if I try to categorize the customer into three category, okay, one is that customer who are really using a good data maintenance, data management, or a data governance tool. Okay, and those are very rare customer if I talk about in India. Yeah, so they have taken the ERP journey, but as Arjit had described, that they had done the data preparation, they had done the data migration, but then now they are realizing the importance. Okay, that there is a I mean the garbage. Okay, there is a mess, and now once they are thinking of a digital transformation, because uh, they need to modernize their existing system, they need to adopt the newer technology, newer application. So that customer who is quite mature, now they are really looking for setting up the data governance framework. And what I think, that data governance is always a kind of technology led discipline, where technology becomes a very, very essential part to really manage the whole data. So obviously, the matured customer, okay, they understood, they put some application, but there is a large population. Okay, now they are realizing that we need to really take care of this discipline, and we ourselves are actually sensitizing them. And if I see customers have themselves realized now that somewhere the master data has to be really cleaned, because it has the various implication down the line, and actually it impacted their, I would say, the business KPIs. Okay, be on the uh, I mean the stock out situations, the inventory carrying cost, or they have to mark down many of the stocks. Okay, and that's a direct hit on their bottom line, right? So I would say that sense is coming to the Indian utilities, and now uh, carrying out the next level of transformation project. This is becoming really the first priority, because they had understood the importance, and they had understood, I mean, they had experienced themselves, okay, within, I mean, in last 7 8 years, 10 years, when they onboarded their first journey. So yes, you're right. We ourselves are taking this initiative, we are educating, customers are understanding, and they are really trying to put a good framework, obviously enabled with a good tool, and it has to be a code solution. So there is a sense at the customer end now.
No, I completely agree, Anupam, though you were referring to India, but I have some other experience also, and I can tell you it is similar across the world.
Okay.
And though I will talk about a customer without naming, although it's not a utility, and there are few customers who were undergoing the innovation journey, and in between they decided that we are not ready from a data perspective. They have kind of stopped it, and then there is a project in between to cleanse the data, because they have realized that
Yeah.
if your data quality is not up to the mark, there is no point in competing. So yeah. So, Arijit, you are now taking up a very large implementation, and you have done a lot of implementation in past. So, what different approach you are thinking this time as compared to what you did? I mean, you talked about that this is very critical, but as part of the plan, how different you are planning to treat it, or what is your readiness or thought process on that?
So, what we are dealing with right now is that a lot of the critical data that will ultimately have to be migrated will actually come from a number of homegrown legacy applications. And these homegrown applications are often dealing with the same nature of information, but not with the same definition of the information, which basically makes the data transformation a lot more trickier. There are hundreds of applications, close to 400 possibly, where we will have to source data, and the same data we will have to reconcile with multiple applications. So this in itself creates a major challenge, and for that, what we are thinking of, because this is an activity that we, in any case, will have to perform. But what we are trying to do is we are trying to utilize a data lake project that is coming up. This data lake project is becoming necessary purely for the business requirements, but we want to leverage this project also, so that when we actually design the objects in the data lake, we try to make sure that the design is in sync with the design of data that possibly would be required in the coming ERP. Obviously, there would be some customizations that will come in the upcoming implementation, which it's not possible for us to anticipate all of that, but at least the base data that is part of the data structure of the ERP, if we can more or less adopt that while designing objects in our data lake, to that extent, what will happen is when we try to map our legacy applications to these objects in the data lake, already we will start working on trying to map the data, trying to figure out what are the data transformations that are necessary, and also where the cleansing is necessary. So in effect, we will already start preparing the data transformation journey while we are working on the data lake. And also the transactional data and the master data, to some extent, for the purposes that are required, would also be there in the data lake, which we can possibly utilize, but it is possible also that we may have to source some additional data as well. But having gone through this exercise ahead of the ERP project, it will give us a significant amount of insight into how to manage this data transformation journey, which in any case would be required when the ERP project starts off. So that is definitely something that we feel is going to add value, and we can leverage that knowledge in the course of our ERP project.
Yeah, no, that's a very good approach. And I mean, what I have seen is this: what you're talking about is getting a data lake and all, which is not very non-standard. A lot of people are doing, because previously we just used to hook up to the legacy system and do a bit of cleaning and upload the data. But now there has to be a lot of intelligence prior to that, and some part of the data will come from data lake. So that's really good thinking.
Plus, also, our legacy applications host data for decades, And absolutely, there's no question of moving the data to the ERP system.
Yeah.
The historical data that we require can actually reside in the data lake, in
Yeah.
which case, as and when we need the data for past periods, we don't need
Yeah.
to go into the legacy applications. We can source the data from the data lake. That is also one of the very important reasons why we are relying upon this strategy. And that way, we will actually not need to continue to live with the legacy applications going forward. That is also an important consideration, because you can do that
Yeah.
only for a limited time.
Yeah, and you can sunset those system. Otherwise, you will have to. I mean, for some emergency,
Yes.
some situation, you have to keep them for a few years. So, Anupam, nowadays, before that, we are almost halfway. So, if there is any question, just put it in the chat. I can see that, and maybe I can bring those questions also. Anupam, lot of discussion nowadays around AI. I don't need to. I mean, that is one word which is coming everywhere. So, how do you see this with the prospect or customer? More from a data perspective. I know, I mean, for a lot of other business application, definitely there is a focus. But from a data perspective, do you see any discussion or what is your view on that?
Yeah, I mean, at a process level, definitely AI and ML and the newer technology are being infused at a process level. But what I think, and the customers are also talking about, that how to really make this whole data maintenance or a data management process as more smarter, more proactive, and more intelligent. And I think now with the AI and ML technology, the use cases had already been, uh, derived, and many of the applications, the tools which are there in the market, they are able to really, uh, they will be helping customers in actually doing the intelligent data management. Okay, and that's the need of the hour, because uh, unless the data is accurate, consistent, harmonized, we will not able to deliver the reliable outcome or the output from the application. Data goes into process. The process again creates a data, and that data goes into the decision making and the analytics. And same data is also being used for the further, I would say, the further optimization of the processes. So it's a I would say a value chain. And so uh, if customers are able to leverage this technology to really uh, uh, speed up the whole data management process, definitely it's going to help the businesses, because now the system will be able to take care of the consistency part. The system will be able to prompt where the uh, things need to be acted upon, okay, in terms of data quality, data governance. A lot of discussion is happening with the customer, but as Arjit has talked about, that first the data itself has to be cleaned, and then on top of that, once the data has been taken into the system, then there has to be a governance. And during the governance cycle, it is really going to help the businesses, because the agility and the reliability is now the key thing for any data driven business, and every organization is really looking up to.
Yeah. No, completely agree. And maybe just to elaborate a bit more on what you said, 2 points from my side. So one is, you rightly said, I mean, now a lot of discussions are more on the AI towards the process side of it. So I was just going through one of the Gartner reports, which says that all these apps will be built on the data, which will be 80% of the data will be the current data. So it's not that we generate new data and after 5 years we start using it. So that's what it makes more important for the current data to also be of a quality, so that and it's now not a analytics, it is some decisions coming out of it. So if you want to build trust on those decisions, the data quality has to be much more better. On the other side, AI, I mean, now I have seen a lot of AI tools which can actually help in cleansing, which otherwise was not possible, because now technology can actually handle a lot of unstructured data also. So some data is even at a manufacturer level, it can actually collaborate and actually do the correction, auto classification. A lot of things are there. So it is definitely one area where it can be further exploited during the project. So, yeah. So Arijit, now coming typically to a utility where normally there are multiple applications which are data heavy, whether it is a GIS system, whether it is a CIS system, or maybe a EAM system, which is like a lot of data, and most of the data is in the field and also dynamic. So, and there has to be a synchronization between these data. So do you see any challenge in that? Because though we say these data, this system integrate with each other, and I know you have done in past also, but is there also a synchronization of data, or is it at a process level, or is there any need to do something? Because I do a asset data change in the EM system, and maybe the GIS system shows it is not up to date. And also, do you see it as a challenge, or it is, I mean, maybe not that critical?
No, it is definitely a challenge, and a significant challenge. What Anupam has also been referring to from time to time is that the challenges relating to managing the data and the data quality, I mean, continue even if you are having an ERP. The ERP by itself does not, frankly, provide all solution, and there will always be other systems, surround systems, which will source data but will have their own data as well. And managing the quality of that data is again extremely important, because otherwise what will happen is quite often we land up in situation where we cannot reconcile. Even for that matter, even in ERP also, what we have seen is that the way we create data, quite often it is possible that because of maybe communication issues, understanding issues, people actually make mistakes while, say, entering data. So some data which probably should have gone to some different account is landing up in another account, because at the time when we are creating the data, we have not been mindful of what we are supposed to enter or how we are supposed to maintain the data. So all of which actually calls for some additional layer of governance that Anupam was also referring to. It actually is relevant even within an ERP, which we have seen, which is why we had to sometimes bring in controls to control the quality of data that is getting created. And definitely applies when there are other surround systems where there is a data interchange happening. And yes, GIS definitely is a case in point, as with any other many other systems. It is important for us to first of all understand where the data is changing, which are the triggers for changes in data, and then see that all of the systems which are handling this data also get updated. Because otherwise, again, what we will land up in is islanding of data and islanding of systems, which is actually against the interests of the organization, and which is why the data governance plays such a critical role in making sure that the information that the organization is dealing with is consistent, and the quality actually relates in a better quality of information, better quality that itself results in better quality of decisions. So yes, it is extremely important. It is also it requires a lot of thought and a lot of actions for us to understand exactly how we are going to control the data. So yes, I mean, just because an organization has got onboarded on an ERP platform does not mean the challenges actually go away. The challenges also start at that point in time, and we have to remain vigilant and build the necessary controls and fine tune those controls as we go along to make sure that the quality of information is as per need.
Thank you. I just realized I'm just halfway through my questions and it is already 30 minutes. So I think maybe Anupam, last 30-second, any concluding thing which you'd like to on this topic, if you'd like to highlight.
No, I mean, just I wanted to share a case which was shared by the recent conversation I had with the revenue assurance process owner at one of the utility. And in fact, he did talk about the direct revenue impact just because they could not maintain the data properly during the change of the consumer category, right? So the consumer got changed from LT to ST, and the right CTPT ratio was directly creating havoc on their revenue. Yeah. And somehow, as Arijit has talked about, that how to infuse that governance, that automation in the data maintenance, so that it does not really impact my process and the business KPIs. And now this is all possible with the kind of technologies, the tools we have, right? So that's a very, very important discipline that we need to really embrace during the process design. Yeah.
Thank you, Anupam, and that was a very nice example. And once again, thanks, Arijit and Anupam, for your time. I really enjoyed it, and I hope others also liked it. So, for the audience, you can put your comments whether you liked what you liked, or whether you would like to have more of such webcast. Thanks, Arijit. Thanks, Anupam. We'll also like to thank
you.
Yeah, and Malika, who were supporting us on the back end arrangement and all. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone, and have a nice weekend. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Yogesh.
Thank you.